argument can be made that ESP, or psychokinesis or precognition, could be where the brain reaches a level that we are unfamiliar with. Not because it doesn't exist, but because the great majority of people have not learned how to harness that side of the brain.
Is it possible that abilities like telepathy and psychokinesis are just waiting to be developed? If so, is ESP something that anyone can master?
ESP is something that everyone has to some extent. Just like any other skill or talent you might have, whether it be a musical talent, whether it be a sports talent, everyone has a bit of natural abilities. But there are some people who practice really hard, and they get better at it whether they have the natural ability or not.
Everyone has the ability to develop their extrasensory perception. It is because it is part of our DNA. It is innate in the human nature to be able to tap into other realities beyond our normal human senses.
Tap into other realities? Could it be that harnessing extrasensory abilities is the key to connecting with extraterrestrial beings? Perhaps further clues can be found by examining ancient stories of the Shining Ones. Durham, North Carolina. August 2019. Nick Pope is meeting with parapsychologist John G. Kruth to observe an experiment with Ed Edwards, a man who has demonstrated psychokinetic abilities. John has brought Ed and Nick to a dark room. Here, he intends to study Ed's abilities with a device that measures individual light particles called photons.
We have a very sensitive piece of equipment here. It's called a photomultiplier tube. The photomultiplier tube will measure a single photon of ultraviolet light every half second. It's one of the most sensitive instruments for measuring light that exists. It's used in standard physics experiments and laser technology. The reason we have that in here is because we're trying to measure light that comes from the human body.
The human body naturally emits light. The average person emits 14 to 20 photons by centimeter square per second. This is very, very low.
So today what we're going to do is we're going to have Ed just sit like he is right now, and we're going to take a baseline reading from him. Once we take a baseline from him, then I'm going to ask Ed to start doing the exercises that we were seeing downstairs and see if there's any change in our photon reading.
In the control room, Nick and John will observe the experiment on computers that record the amount of light Ed produces in the dark room.
So what are you actually hoping to observe here? How will this tie in with ESP and parapsychology more generally?
The emission of light, if it's being projected from here, would be a type of PK or psychokinesis. It may be a mechanism that might enable ESP.
And how will this tie in with telepathy and clairvoyance?
Well, when we're talking about light, we're talking about information carrier system. If you think about fiber optics, how the entire internet works, it's all done using light in different frequencies and different patterns. And this is what we're measuring in here. We're measuring light. So it's possible that the light being modulated can be what the carrier signal could be for the information being transferred in ESP. All right? About ready?
Yes.
Okay. Hey, Ed. All right, I'm going to turn the lights off so we can start the study.
Okay.
John kills the lights and begins the experiment. Ed is going to attempt to generate energy in his mind. But first, John will record a baseline measurement.
Okay, see we're starting to take readings now.
Typically, what would you expect to see in this experiment?
So what we typically see is we'll see a baseline which kind of wiggles around a little bit. It'll usually be between 12 and 20 photons that we'll see it moving back and forth. If we get it to go beyond it to a point where it's 2 times the baseline or higher, then that's extremely significant. So that's what we're looking for.
Okay.
With their baseline readings complete, John starts the next phase of the
sitting session.
Ed begins his process to generate energy, and almost immediately, the computer readings change.
Oh, look, that one jumped up to 1156. Now we're seeing 105. And you can see it's consistently at a higher level than it was during the baseline. And this is what we look for.
Right, and you had nothing on this scale
Nothing
before you started to produce something.
You just got a very big spike into the 500s.
The sudden change on the computer screen suggests something extraordinary, that Ed can consciously manipulate energy with his mind.
Up until this point, I think psychic talk was just that, it was talk. But even I can see that that is statistically significant.
You don't need statistics to know that there's something unusual going on.
In his second experiment, a thermographic camera monitors heat patterns on Ed's body, and it detects an unexpected anomaly.
On his palms of his hands, you see it seems to be getting warmer, and it does seem to be getting brighter near the top of his head too, doesn't it?
Well, it does look as if the head, or dare I say it, the brain is heating up here. Could this be mental energy?
It's possible. Some people talk about the same pattern on the forehead and on the hands is something we see in other healers.
I came to the Rhine Research Centre not really knowing what to expect. I've come away with a changed perspective. I've seen light associated with ESP.
Light created by mental energy? John's experiment may show that the human brain has far more potential than previously thought. Could these abilities stem from an extraterrestrial origin? Curiously, across ancient cultures, there are stories of gods and holy figures emitting light.
In Irish legend, we learn of the Tuatha De Danann, or the Tua De Dan. These are luminous humanoid beings who are considered to be beings of immense wisdom, who are also called the Shining Ones.
Similar to the Shining Ones of the Celtic tradition, the ancient Sumerian gods called the Anunnaki are described as glowing. In Judeo-Christian traditions, when Moses came down from Mount Sinai with the Ten Commandments, he too was described as glowing. Might this description be more than metaphorical?
In the meditative state, you can actually increase the number of photons up to 1,000, 2,000, or even 100,000 photons per second, which is extremely bright. This tells us that when we are in a heightened state of awareness, in a higher state of consciousness, our bodies emit a huge amount of light. And perhaps that is the reason why we call it enlightenment.
Is it possible that by reaching a state of enlightenment, one is able to connect with extraterrestrials?
Opening the third eye is a poetic way of saying illumination or enlightenment. This is gaining access to some